What is up, everybody? Bootman here, and we're back with another Marvel Snap video. And in this video, I actually asked you wonderful subscribers out there, to send me some videos of your gameplay so I could take a look, so I could review it, because a lot of people are trying to reach Infinite, but not quite getting there, and I wanted to see what the heck was going on. So in this video, I'm gonna break down some of the videos that were sent to me, and we'll have a little bit of a discussion. All right, but before we get started, if you are new here, hi, my name is Chris, aka Bootman, and if you love Marvel Snap as much as I do, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell. One of my main goals with this channel is to help all of you wonderful people reach Infinite, but just competitive Marvel Snap in general. Once, battle mode comes out, tournaments come out, and everything like that, like competitive is my jam. So if you're into that stuff, make sure you subscribe. We're trying to hit 7,000 subscribers by the end of the month, and we have an awesome community here. Make sure you head down to the description, join our Discord community. We have a bunch of cool people in there, and follow me over on Twitter at BootmanMSTZ, linked down in the description below as well. I'm doing monthly giveaways for the season pass, all right? So, yeah, with these videos, I'm always trying to figure out like what to have going on. So right here is some gameplay. Actually, it's over here, all right? But feel free to watch, ignore that. I just need something going on, some kind of stimulus, okay? But anyways, like I said, I've hit Infinite the last 3 seasons, this season included, and, I have a lot of people ask me questions about Infinite, getting to Infinite, their decks, their gameplay, all sorts of stuff, and I've been trying to figure out what's going on. So I made a video a while back, and I'm like, I have a few assumptions, right? This is either bad cube management, not having the cards that you need, right? Or just a bunch of bad luck, all right? So I wanted to have people send me gameplay so I can actually see. So before I dive into this and break these things down, just some real quick background about me. For those of you who don't know me, never met me, or some of you have been subscribed for like, the last month or whatever, and you still don't know me. So I have been in competitive gaming for 20 plus years now, all right? So way back in the early 2000s, when I was in high school, there was a little game called Counter-Strike. I fell in love with it. I've always been a competitive person, played high school sports, all that stuff. Fell in love with a game called Counter-Strike, did a bunch of local tournaments, and eventually I worked my way up working for one of the biggest Counter-Strike websites, not Counter-Strike, but esports websites, mainly covering Counter-Strike in the world. And I went up from there, analyzing a bunch of teams, professional teams, gameplay, and eventually I ended up coaching one of the top teams in the world at the time. Their name was Team 3D. I used to travel all over the world, go to different tournaments and everything like that. And yeah, I kind of fell out of it due to, my past drug addiction and alcoholism and stuff, but competitive gaming has always been a part of my life. I've been sober for 10 years now, and I've still played competitive games, whether it's like Dota 2, League of Legends, a bunch of different first-person shooters, all that kind of stuff. So I am a competitive gamer, okay? And I've coached professional teams, and now Marvel Snap is just my jam, all right? So that's kind of the premise, my background, if you're like, why the hell should we listen to this guy? And like I said, since starting to play this game, I've hit Infinite every single season. I started late in the Miles Morales season or whatever, but yeah, now I take the game seriously. I try to hit Infinite. All right. So, anyways, I had a bunch of subscribers send me some gameplay. I've reviewed 3 of them. I'm probably going to go through more. Right now, I'm just going to give you some kind of like very broad, high level, just general thoughts because, like I said, I want to see what patterns I notice, what's going on, and there are some general themes that I think will help all of you out there as well. Okay, so these are 3 subscribers. B, the one playing right now, you'll know who you are. The other 2, I'll shoot you an email. So a few things that I've noticed, okay? And if you're struggling to hit Infinite, this might pertain to you. So the first thing, let's start off with the good. And by the way, my coaching style is tough love, so just be prepared. But the first thing I noticed is actually a good thing, okay? I will say, with all of the ones that I've watched so far, fantastic cube management, okay? A lot of you know that I'm against first turn snapping. I'm against playing super aggressively, right? Trying to get the cubes, there's no reason to rush it. All 3 seasons, I've hit Infinite within a week. There's no reason to rush this thing. So I have seen that, so far, people are playing pretty conservatively. Right now, in the video going on right now, they lost, but they only lost 2 cubes. They didn't lose like 8 cubes, okay? Cube management is your top priority. It does not, your win to loss ratio does not matter. It does not matter, okay? You can lose 7 out of 8 games and still come ahead. If you lose 1 cube a game for 7 games, you win an 8 cuber, you're ahead. So win to loss ratio does not matter. It is cube management. All right. So I am proud to say that every single video that I've watched so far had good cube management. All right. There was a couple times where it was like 50-50. Should you have stayed? Should you have retreated? Not a big deal. Okay. The other main thing that I wanted to talk about, this is gonna be a quick video, all right, is the deck choices, all right? So this deck right here, and I'll explain the 3 decks that I took a look at. So this deck right here is a sort of slot machine type deck, right? We got Jubilee, we got Lockjaw, all right? The second deck I reviewed, checking my notes real quick, I believe it was, let me see. It was like a She-Hulk slash Destroy deck, okay? And then the third deck I looked at was a Surfer deck. So I wanna talk about these first 2 decks. So something else that I've discussed is like, there are like meta decks, a lot of meta decks are kind of novelty decks, okay? And then there are more like competitive decks, decks that we're using to hit infinite. These decks have, you know, they're meant to get you wins by, you know, being able to counter, in my opinion, being able to disrupt the opponent. They do a variety of things, okay? So these first 2 decks, they kind of go in one direction. Now, the first one, this kind of, you know, Jubilee and Lockjaw deck, right? Those things are kind of fun, in my opinion. They're fun and exciting. I have too much anxiety for those, but in my opinion, not a great deck to try to hit infinite. There is too much randomness, all right? We already have enough randomness in this game, from the locations to like just the RNG of the cards, right? Like, what is Jubilee gonna pull? What is Lockjaw gonna pull, right? What is this person's Iceman gonna hit in my deck? Like, there's already so much randomness in this game. If I'm trying to reach infinite, I'm not going to add more levels of randomness to my game, okay? If that makes sense. So I don't believe like a deck like this is going to get many people to infinite unless you go on like a really neat hot streak, all right? The next deck, which was kind of like a destroy deck that She-Hulk pushes a lot of power out there, this is another one where a lot of things have to go right in your deck for things to work out, okay? So something that I've been talking about is when it comes to meta decks, when it comes to popular decks, a couple reasons that I'm not a huge fan of them. One of them is they're very one directional, right? You're on a path, you know, like, hey, here's the goal, here's the optimal thing that I want to happen, right? But if that thing doesn't happen, you're kind of left high and dry. Sometimes you have like 1, maybe 2 backup plans, you know what I mean? But decks that don't really have counters, like those worry me, right? I need to be able to disrupt what the other opponent's trying to do, right? I don't want to fully rely on, hey, if everything goes right to me, we're gonna be good. And by the way, I think it's important to note too, these were all sent last season. So, you know, maybe they're doing better this season, like the specific ones that I reviewed. This season has Zabu, things are a little bit differently and all that. But I think the general things that I'm discussing, they pertain regardless of the season that you're in, okay? But the other thing about meta decks, decks that people know about, they're very predictable. Here's why predictable decks are bad, for 2 reasons, right? If you're playing against a good player, 1, they're gonna know how to counter it, okay? They're gonna know what's coming, they're gonna know what you have, they're gonna know the probabilities that you have it, okay? And then 2, a smart player is not gonna give you cubes, okay? If I know what kind of deck you are playing, I'm retreating, all right? Does that make sense? So you are going to get the minimum amount of cubes on me. So like, best case scenario is that you snap first turn, which I think is not always like, I think 90% of the time it's not a great idea. I'll die on that hill. But if I know what you're playing, what's coming, what might be coming, I'm gonna get out of there. You are going to get 1, maybe 2 cubes from me, right? I want a deck that has counters, disruption, surprises, you know what I mean? That way the other person isn't 1000% sure what I'm doing. This is why I like running the Magantress deck. That's why I've ran it. That's why it's getting me to Infinite multiple seasons. You know what I mean? Because there's so much randomness. This season, it actually wasn't Magantress. Magantress did help me, you know, or a variation of it. It did help me get to like rank 80, 90, something like that. But the last deck that I used to hit Infinite was my Agent Dino deck. A lot of randomness in there because you're drawing different cards, because it has like Agent Coulson, it has Nick Fury, it has Helicarrier. The other person doesn't really know what's coming next. There's a wide variety of possibilities, right? That deck had so many different win conditions, okay? So really think about the decks that you're using, these meta decks, because the number one question I'm gonna follow up with everybody in an email, but my number one question is, why did you pick this deck? Like, really sit back and think, why did you pick it, okay? Because there's like fun decks and then there's competitive decks. If you're playing for fun, then you shouldn't be playing for Infinite. If you're playing for Infinite, you should be using competitive decks. Does that make sense? So the last deck that I mentioned that came through, and I believe they said they got to rank 80 or 90 last season with it. It was just a standard Silver Surfer deck. And those decks are solid, they're consistent. Even during this Zabu season, those are still consistent decks, right? You have Surfer, you have Brood, you put Sarah in there, you get things like Maximus, you get Juggernaut, Cosmo. There's so many different things in there going on, right? So not only is that deck pushing power on the board, but it also has counterplays. Do you see what I mean? You have like things like Cosmo to block different on reveal abilities. You know, there's so much going on in those decks. That's why I think that's one of the most consistent. Like Surfer, especially like a Surfer in combination with like a Patriot deck. Like these are decks that I see that are still consistent to this day. So this is where I think research comes really, really in handy, right? Look around. It's why I'm doing videos on what decks are hitting Infinite, right? So again, going back to like the tough love, I would ask like, how many destroy decks have you seen that are hitting Infinite, right? How many Lockjaw, Jubilee, Slot Machine style decks are you seeing that are hitting Infinite? Because if you're not hitting Infinite, then you're saying like, I'm gonna be the one to do it. Nah, get that out of your head. Find tried and true decks that have hit Infinite. You don't have to use the exact decks. I know Jeff Hoagland, I know Alex and Cozy, they just did a video like today talking about card substitutions. It's the number one question we always get. I don't have this card, what can I use as a substitution, right? And you gotta get in the right mindset. What is this card's role? So if you're finding decks that are hitting Infinite and you don't have those cards, right? Look at it and say, what role is this filling? Is it pushing power? Is it disrupting? What is it doing for me or against them? You see what I'm saying? But like I said, everybody had great cube management. The second issue I'm seeing is just decks. Look around, see what decks are hitting Infinite, because I just need you all to just ask yourself, why am I using this deck if I haven't been seeing people hit Infinite with it? Not only do I cover it, but I know Marvel Snap Zone covers it. The last video I did, it was a bunch of decks that hit Infinite that I found on Twitter. Look at those decks, ask yourself, analyze, why are they working? How are they working? Why are they consistent? Why are they more consistent than mine, right? Because best case scenario, these decks are dropping down to rank 70 and then going up 30 ranks. And all the decks that I covered the other day from that video from Twitter, they all did that in less than a week, okay? So start asking yourself why they're doing that, all right? But yeah, none of the people that I reviewed, none of them are bad players, very smart players and stuff like that. I just think overall, the decks are holding people back, okay? Like, there's fun decks and competitive decks. Go for the competitive ones, all right? So anyways, that's my first review. I might do stuff a little bit more in depth. This was really research for me. Like, I'm trying to figure out why people aren't hitting Infinite. And in this case of the first three that I watched, I think the decks are part of the issue, all right? It's not the cards, it's not the cube management, it's, obviously there is gonna be RNG in all of them, but it's the deck. So really, really start thinking about what decks are hitting Infinite. all right? But anyways, thanks to everybody who submitted their videos for me to check out. I hope this helped. I hope it helped all of you. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, ring that notification bell, join our awesome community, help this channel get to 7,000 subscribers by the end of the month, because battle mode is coming. We have a lot of cool stuff coming. Join our Discord server down in the description below. Follow me on Twitter at BootmanMSTZ so you don't miss out on upcoming giveaways. And I tweet a lot. We have a good time. All right. So anyways, I might have another video for you later today, so stay tuned. But yeah, until then, have an amazing day, and I'll see you soon.